Hello, my name's Steve Smith and I'm a nurse by background, and I spent much of my career in practice in the earlier days caring for people with neurological conditions, disorders of the brain, and caring for the families affected by being with someone who was suffering with those problems. And after a number of years managing facilities, I became concerned about the level of knowledge of the nurses and the care staff around us, so I began to be interested in teaching, and I ended up doing 23 years here in the east of England, teaching nursing students and students of other health professions. And one thing that I became very aware of was that while many students have a great time, as they should, through 3-4 years of studying to achieve their professional qualification and registration, there are always some who over that period hit really difficult times. And I've always been interested to know how some of those students have the resilience and the ability to overcome those problems and deal with them. I think we do a great job in attracting people, recruiting people into health professions. It's so important. They're such noble and needed professions, and that puts us in a situation where we have a great responsibility once they come to us, as we've asked them to be able to support them. And so I think it's a duty, really, a responsibility for us to nurture students and to anticipate that they may well have difficulties along the way, that we should be able to foresee and be able to encourage them to feel that it's safe to raise their problems, to easily know who to speak to. Well, I think we have to anticipate that there will be problems and not be caught by surprise. I think that's one thing. So there need to be systems in place to be ready to support people who have financial hardship. There has to be a great rapport between the lecturers in the education background, to know the staff in where students are going on their placements, to have that great rapport, so that it feels easy for someone to raise a concern. It's not a stranger ringing up the university and saying, I've got a student who's got this problem, and it feels like a formal thing. Or, you know, perhaps even worse, putting off that conversation, thinking, well, and suddenly the school will hear about it is when it's really become a big problem. So I think those are important aspects. There has to be really good policies about helping staff understand their unconscious biases, because there may be people speak to a student in a certain way and don't realise that that comes across as unpleasant or difficult. And I think we need to be educating everyone who supervises students to recognise the signs of someone struggling. It may be with their mental health, it may be with money, it could be their physical health. But there'll be some indication that the student isn't firing on all cylinders, and to be able to know how to initiate those conversations. Often we're advised that we need to help our students be resilient, and I think that's true. I think that's quite important, but it's important that we understand asking people to be resilient doesn't mean putting up with everything that comes along and just gritting your teeth and getting through it. Those few years for often young people, not always, a lot of people come into professions later on, but those few years you should be able to look back on at the end and say that was a terrific piece of my life. I grew, I developed, I became who I can be, and now I'm moving forward and I'm able to offer all that I've learned to patients, clients who need the benefit of my experience. So it's not about putting up with things. It's about being able to be honest and open with yourself first, and then open to peers or supervisors, teachers, to be able to say, I've hit a problem, I need some support to be able to get over it, to be clear about what the problem actually is, and to have the strength and confidence to know that that's not something bad about you. That's life, that just happens. So that's what I think resilience is really about, and our job is to be that approachable network around people so they don't just feel on their own, they don't feel this is something embarrassing that I can't declare. It's very important to understand that, because I do think sometimes the word resilience gets used as if we're expecting people to just put up with it, basically. That's not the case. Well, I think there's a variety of ways they could be used. I think in a class situation, if early on in the course you were preparing students to understand that over a 3-year period, it's bound to be the case that someone in the class is going to experience difficulties, and they might be to do with financial problems, it might be a health issue, it might be a family relationship breakdown, something else. Things can happen to change how you thought life was going to be, and so I do think they're a great resource for helping a lecturer or someone else who's helping with education for that group of students to be able to facilitate discussions, to kick around. What would we do if we hit that problem? Who would we turn to? What's available for us? And to help students believe that there would be a way around those issues if they happen to come. So that's one way. But I think also in a one-to-one situation, if a student did have a particular problem, maybe they've gone to placement and found it really daunting, maybe they've met someone who wasn't very pleasant to them and they've struggled to know how they should deal with that, you could, as an academic advisor or anyone else involved in supervising that student, could set some time aside, pick out appropriate parts of a video, watch and listen to what a student has to say who's been in that situation, and then have the discussion around it. Of course, no two students are going to have exactly the same circumstances, but it can be so helpful to kick around how one student managed to get through something really difficult, and then think, okay, how are you going to move forward? But really, it's students who've experienced those issues that are really in a place to help their peers work out how they're going to meet their challenges.